Howdy folks. Today we're going to start on the section of our pattern book that covers half square triangles. So I'm going to show you how to make, in this video, half square triangles using different methods. We're going to start with 2 at a time and go to 4 at a time and then go 8 at a time. So I'm going to take you down to the table and let's get started. Okay, we're going to start with the 2 at a time method, and it can be a square of any size. I'm starting with I believe it was 3.5 inch. I can't remember what I cut now. Yeah, 3.5 inches. And we're going to take, somewhere I have a pencil, or you could use a friction pen, either one, because what we're going to do with this method is we're going to mark a diagonal line from corner to corner, a diagonal line from corner to corner, how to do it by marking. And what I'm going to do is sew a 1/4 inch on either side of the line. And then I'm going to cut on the line after I've sewn, and that will give me 2 half square triangles. So let's get that done. And my light, I'm not sure if my sewing machine came unplugged or my light burned out, but one of the two. Nope, there it goes. That was weird. Tried to turn it on a while ago and it wouldn't turn on. Okay, so let's get started. Come here, foot pedal. I put the edge of my foot on the line, and that will give me a 1/4 inch seam allowance. If I were doing a whole bunch of 2 at a time, I would just keep sewing down one side and then flip it around when I got to the end of, like if I was doing 10, when I got to the end of the 10, I would flip it around and sew down the other side. But since I'm only doing 2, my needle up, press her foot up, come around, and now I'm going to put the edge of the foot on the line again and sew down the line on this side. If you have a machine that cuts the thread, you can cut your thread before you turn. But if you don't, then just pull a little thread out and turn around the corner and do it that way. So now we've got a half square triangle going that way and one going this way. So we're going to cut on the line that we just made. I use my stripology ruler and line up corner to corner that way. But if you don't have a stripology ruler, you can use any ruler that is long enough. You have an Omni Grid. This one is a square up ruler. This is a ruler that I bought from Andy over at True Blue Quilts. It's for half rectangles, but it's good at squaring up anything as long as you have your diagonal. So anyway, whatever tool you've got, whatever ruler you've got that's long enough to cut that on the diagonal will work. And if you're a new quilter, you probably don't have a whole big selection like I do. I've been quilting for over 60 years, so I've got a lot of tools. And so anyway, I'm going to take this over to the iron and I'm going to press my seams open, and then I'll come back and show you how we square them up. Heat up my iron real quick. I have a cordless and I keep forgetting to put it back on the charger. This ruler is what I use to make sure my my needle is at a 1/4 inch away from my whatever I did with it, my magnet. When I use it for straight seams, I can sew pretty fast by using this guide. This machine sews really fast compared to the Elna that I won. But anyway, it's got holes in it, and the holes have measurements, and you put your needle in the hole of whichever corresponds with whichever measurement you want, and then you put the magnetic seam guide up against the ruler, and that will give you whatever size seam you're looking for. But it's also got measurements on the other side, and it's perfect for trimming my half square triangles. But if you're interested in the seam guide and the the ruler and the magnetic seam guide, they came from Madam Sew, which that's the logo. And I got it upside down. I put medical tape on the back, and that helps it not to slide around. So anyway, another introduction to a couple more tools. My iron is hot, so I'll be back in a minute. I'm going to press toward the darkest fabric. They're all about the same. They're both about the same value, so it really doesn't matter, but if I were using these in a specific specific pattern. I'd want everything pressed to the same direction so that I could nest the seams. Okay. Right now these measure about 3 inches. Started out at 3.5 inches. So that's a good rule of thumb. Whatever square you want, make it, whatever half square triangle you want it to end up at, make it the square, beginning square, 1/2 inch longer. So I'm going to show you 2 different ways to trim this. I could use my Stripology ruler because it's got diagonal lines on it, and I could line up a diagonal line with the seam, and it's got different square sizes, and I could choose whatever square size I wanted and trim it that way, which is probably the most common way I do it. The second most common way I do it, besides knocking all my bobbins off, is I have this quilt in a day triangle trimmer, and with this, say I'm wanting to trim this up to 3 inches. I choose the 3 inch mark on the ruler. I put the 3 inch mark on my seam, and then I trim. So let's try that with this one. And rotating mats are good for trimming if you don't have something in the way. Okay, so I've got the 3 inch mark on the seam, got my rotary cutter, and I'm going to turn it so it's at an angle that's good for me to cut. And I've cut that much off. Then I'm going to rotate my mat around. I'm going to find that closer to me. Find that 3 inch, or find that seam. And either this is the side I already cut, or it's measuring right. So let's try this side. I can't remember what I did already. Okay, this side's perfect too. So we've got a perfect 3 inch square now. So let's try it with something that you probably have one of a regular ruler. I don't like these because I can't see these squares or these markings very good, the yellow markings. But this happens to have a 3-inch square right here with a 3-inch square with a white line. This is an Omni Grid. Six-inch ruler, square ruler, and so it's already got the 3-inch square on it and the line. Plus it's got, I don't know, this ruler was given to me. I think somebody drew those lines on there, the red ones, which is 2.5-inch square. Yeah, I think somebody did. Somebody drew those on there. And this doesn't need to be trimmed up a whole lot. Basically, just the dog ears trimmed off. When you're trimming, if you'll put your little finger right here off the edge of the ruler, it will help to keep your ruler from sliding around. Because the last thing you want to do is have your finger in the way. and cut yourself. They make a corner clipper type ruler for half square triangles. They make all kinds of tools. You just have to figure out, watch a bunch of videos and find out what other people are using, and decide what you want to use. I've already decided I like my Stripology ruler the best, and so that's what I use when I'm not teaching other people that may not have that tool. So this is our 2 at a time method. Let's move on to 4 at a time. With the 4 at a time method, you have 2 squares equal sizes, and you just sew around the outside edge, and then you cut on the diagonal. So I'm going to sew around the outside edge, and we will got it pinned in the middle so that to hold my squares together. You don't have to do that if you don't want to. Basically, I had it when I was setting up my fabric to demo, just so I could hold it together. The first go around I went off the fabric, which is okay, you can do that, or you can just go to the, if you're good at estimating, get to the 1/4 inch and just needle down and swivel. I'm going to take this pin out now so I don't poke myself. My foot has a mark on it that tells me where the 1/4 inch is, and I didn't pay attention to it. Okay. For this one, I'm going to use this ruler because I think it's long enough. Yeah. So I'm just going to take my rotary cutter and cut corner to corner. At Christmas time, I was in a gift exchange group with soft squares, and I have a soft squares wish list, and one of the things on my wish list was this rotating mat, and my exchange partner got it for me. I'm so happy. I use this thing daily. Okay, now we have 4 inch. So let me press these. Forgot to put my iron on the deal again. I'm going to press these toward the dark. Now this particular square is part of the pattern, or the block that I'm going to be doing for this tutorial, so I'm not going to give you the exact measurements I trim these down to. So I'll do that off camera. So I'm going to put you on pause. I'm going to press these and trim them, and I'll come back and... Okay, there's a lot you can do with 4 half square triangles. I've got 4. You can make the block that we're going to make today called broken dishes. And basically what it is, you take and you put it could be either way. It could be the 2 whites or the 2 blues together. Today I'm going to put my two backgrounds together up here, and then the other 2 you do just the opposite. so it looks like this. So I'm going to sew these together, and then we'll move on to our 8 at a time. Because I pressed everything the same direction, they nest perfectly together. Now at this stage, you can make one of two blocks. You can make our broken dishes block like this, or you can make a pinwheel block like that. So this one method of making 4 half square triangles at a time will yield you several blocks, which we will be covering in the next few videos. I believe we've got, let's see, the next block is, after this one, is called the shoe fly, which is 4 half square triangles and center squares. And then we have the spool, old maid's puzzle, spider, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. That's the, okay, shoe fly, the spool, old maid's puzzle, and spider are the ones we're going to be making this week. And then I'm trying to not get ahead of Sherry, and so that's all I'm going to tell you right now. If you have the book, you can look ahead and see what's coming up, and I'm still encouraging you to get the book, because this is an excellent reference book even if you're not making the quilt. Okay, back to what I was doing. I am going to be pressing these seams open, and the reason for that, instead of nesting seams, is because there's so much bulk right here in the middle. And I'll be using my Easy Press pen that I showed you last week. Once again, these triangles are on the bias or diagonal, however you want to call it, and so this fabric is stretchy. This fabric is not, so you don't have to be as careful, but on these seams you do. So when you have a fabric that's cut on the diagonal and you're sewing on the diagonal, you want to be careful when you're pressing these seams that you don't distort them. I forgot to turn this one over to press it. Okay, so we're not making a pinwheel today, we're making broken dishes. So now I'm going to match these seams up, and the way I do that is I put a pin right about an inch down and get it in right in the seam. I also nest these seams and put a pin there. That not only holds the fabric together, but it keeps your seams from flipping. Make sure my seams are nested here. Pop my pin in. Another way you can check when you're pinning your center is to fold it down like that, and you can see that they've lined up. So you fold it back down and pop your pin in. Now we're going to go to the sewing machine and sew it together. And see, our points have matched perfectly in the middle. So I'm going to once again press the seams open, and one of my seams flipped. So take all I have to do is hit one seam right here and then go back to the sewing machine and there we go. So what we're going to do is, once again, this will be pressed open. Hit it with a little starch. Get my iron good and hot. Come straight down on that seam. Turn it over and give it a good press. And when I've got bias, I don't go, you know, I kind of just turn the iron. And there's broken dishes. Everything lined up. I can't tell you the measurement, but I'm pretty sure it's exactly what it needs to be. These blocks in this book have been pretty much right on the money. Okay, next up is 8 at a time half square triangles. For this, I cut 2 10-inch squares, so you could use 2 layer cake squares. And I've got them placed right sides together. My voice may give out on me, I'm not sure here. Get a drink of tea. I'm drinking green tea with honey. With lime juice in it. We'll try to get through this. Okay, we're going to draw lines diagonal from corner to corner on each side. And for this I have to break out the long one. And I always start in the middle. I'm using a pencil. You can use a friction pen, whatever. This, you're going to be cutting on this line, so it doesn't matter what you use to mark with.
Good morning. Please take your pills for the 25th. Good morning.
I don't cut my thread, I just
Pills for the 25th.
lift my needle and pull a little bit of thread out and come around and keep on. Do the same thing on the opposite side. Pull my pins now because I've got enough stitches there to hold everything together. I was going to try to use the same leader ender, but my string wasn't long enough. Okay, now, unlike the 2 at a time, we're going to, excuse me, I gotta pause a minute. This is a 10-inch square, so the halfway mark would be 5 inches. So we are going to line up 5 inches on the edge of our square. And where did I put my rotary cutter? And this is where having a rotating mat comes in handy, because you don't want to move anything until you get this piece cut. Okay, I've got it lined up here and here, and I've got it going intersecting in the middle. Okay, at this point you can pull them apart and trim one at a time. From corner to corner, right on the mark that you made. Now these are going to make pretty big half square triangles. My ruler's got a nick in it, so I've got to get past the nick. This was my very first ruler I ever bought years ago. When I first started quilting, they didn't have rotary cutters and rulers. Everything was done with paper templates and scissors. So we've cut this in half. And we've made, this is 1/4 of our, so we've got, anyway, we'll cut each of these on the line. If you needed smaller half square triangles, you'd start with your squares being smaller. And I have a chart that I will try to remember to provide a link for the PDF for. I can't remember if I've told you why my voice goes out, but I've got Hashimoto's disease, which is a thyroid disease, and I've got nodules on my thyroid that strangle my voice box at times. And evidently today's one of those days. Okay. So we're going to press these toward the dark, and then we'll trim them up, and looks like we've got 4.5 inch half square triangles if I just cut the dog ears off, which is what I probably will do. I probably won't do the whole trimming thing. So I'm going to pause you and do that. And I think we're going to end this. I was going to make something with these, but we made our broken dishes block. We also made the 2 at a time method. Okay, this is what we've done today. We made 2 at a time, 4 at a time, and 8 at a time. I have tutorials, I have patterns for making 16 at a time, 32 at a time, and 64 at a time. We'll do that in a different tutorial when I can speak better. So we're going to end this for today, and we'll see you later. Well, that's it for today. So I'm going to say, be blessed, less stressed, and pet some fabric today. See you later.